Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Finally, we've had a few good days, a few green days, and some of our funds are actually even moving up. And maybe it looks like we're slightly out of the chaos from all this tariff mania. Um, and yeah, if you're like me and you've been buying the dip, well, it's been a big dip, hasn't it? And been treating this as a big buying opportunity, then you might even be seeing some of your funds recover to actually a pretty good place, as the last 3 days of this week have been pretty good. What we're going to talk about today, though, is what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin going forward for this year, and so therefore my price predictions for MSTY, for CONY, and for LFGY. Those are three of my biggest holdings, as you'll see here in my table for April. So we've now finished April. All the distributions have been paid, as far as I believe, apart from YETH, which is not a YieldMax fund. That is my only round hill fund, and that's based on the crypto Ethereum. I wanted some exposure to a high yield Ethereum play, and that's what that does. And I think that's going to do really well as well. So if you want to consider getting into that, maybe look into it, because I think it's going to do pretty well. But what did we have for this month? We had Group B, didn't we? So we had PLTY, always does well, $4.65. That did really well. MARO, it's always like pretty average these days, 67 cents. And what have I been buying the past week? I've just continued to buy, as I've talked about in my previous videos. Huge buying opportunity. I think it was all kind of a smokescreen from Trumpy. He's just doing his thing, talking some stuff, but really trying to do other stuff behind the scenes, pressuring the Fed to try and drop rates. All this tariff stuff with China, I think they'll come to an agreement and things will get better. I could be wrong, it could get worse. There will probably be a lot of volatility, but I've been treating it like a massive opportunity, as I've talked about in my previous videos. And so this week I have bought more LFGY because I think Bitcoin is going to surge now. MSTY, 100 shares of $21. PLTY, love that fund. It's already recovered to pretty much my average price. My average price on PLTY is now at 64.14. You'll see it there. And the price at the moment, I think, is $63, even with the distribution coming out. So it's just such a good ETF. PLTY, MSTY, they've got to be the best YieldMax funds, in my opinion. They're so good. MSTY from a crypto and a Bitcoin point of view, and PLTY from a pure tech stocks, I guess, kind of AI point of view. NVIDIA, I think NVIDIA is still undervalued. So I got in at 13.50 with 110 shares, and I think it's currently trading at 14.43. Still a good price, I think. PLTY, as I said, it's gone up to $63, so it's recovered really nicely. But yeah, as I said, I wanted to talk to you about my price predictions for MSTY, LFGY, and CONY. So they're three of my big players. I've got MSTY, I've got 4,300 shares. It normally pays me pretty well. As you'll see in April, MSTY paid me in Australian dollars net, so I get taxed 15%, $7,500. Very good, can't complain with that. CONY, just under $2,500. It was a poor distribution amount for CONY this month, but with Bitcoin going up over the past week or so, it's definitely going to increase. And I think it's a good opportunity to get in there. So $2,300. And then what else do I have? Yeah, LFGY, I'm pretty bullish on that. So I've got 270 shares of that, and I just bought this week another 60. So I've now got 330 shares of LFGY, and yeah, I think that's going to do pretty well. Now, Bitcoin, why do I think it's going to do well? One of the main reasons, and I've spoken about this before, is global liquidity coming into the market. The global M2 money supply is going off the hook. It is absolutely flying right now, as you'll see from this chart from Colin Talks Crypto. You can follow him on X or Twitter. Really interesting bloke to follow. Talks very much about the assimilation or the correlation between Bitcoin and global liquidity, and how he does all these maths and calculations, and how it kind of has an 80 to 85% correlation rate. So that's pretty strong, as you can see. the Bitcoin price kind of follows global liquidity quite closely. Obviously, there's dip. Like with Trump, things will go up and down because because Bitcoin's been kind of coupled to the stock market, and so that affects it a bit. But ultimately, if global liquidity is going up this much, and there's an 85% correlation rate, then Bitcoin's going to go up that much. If that goes up that much, then there's also going to be an alt season. So you're going to be looking at altcoin mania. Things are going to get very interesting for the second half of this year. If Fed cuts rates, that's going to keep it flying even more. If the US start printing money, that's going to kick off even more. And then the other thing is, so I'm extremely bullish on this. I think Bitcoin will reach probably at least $180,000 by the end of this year, probably more like 200 to 250. But in saying that, if Senator Loomis and the US government start buying Bitcoin, which the act has been approved, I believe, and they are just now considering ways to actually go and buy 1 million Bitcoin as part of the Bitcoin US reserve, then I believe if they do that, so I think it's 1 million Bitcoin they want to buy over 5 years. And they're discussing different ways of doing it. Are they going to sell gold to buy Bitcoin? They don't want to use taxpayers' money to do it, so they're looking at different alternative ways of buying the Bitcoin. And I think that's just the only caveat as to how they're going to do it, not if they're going to do it. So if they do if they start this year and they start buying Bitcoin, I don't think it will be 200,000, even 250. Bitcoin price could easily be 300, possibly even $400,000 by the end of this year. I know that sounds crazy, but M2 global liquidity is going parabolic. If the Fed cuts rates, if the US starts buying Bitcoin, there's only 21 million Bitcoin supply, right? So there's a big supply issue here going on. There's going to be, I think it's going to go up pretty drastically at some point. So what does that mean for MSTY, CONY, LFGY, MARO, all these Bitcoin and crypto related YieldMax ETFs? Well, I think they're going to fly, and I think they're going to fly bigger than they did in that run from November, which is when Trump got elected, and it went. So I'm on MSTY chart now, and MSTY went from a price of just under $20, $19.30 to $44. Now, I think it will do the same, if not more. So I think that my base case for MSTY is going now. Well, obviously, Bitcoin has gone up. Let's just take a look at Bitcoin quickly, and we'll see what it's done. So it's gone up from 76,000. It's pumped pretty hard to 94,000. It's gone up a lot in the space of, so what's that, 7th of April, so that's two and a half weeks or something, to 94,000. That's a big jump. That's almost a 20,000 jump. And with all the things that I spoke about, I just think that MSTY is going to go up to at least $40 by the end of this bull run. So this bull run could be end of 2025, start of 2026, maybe even go into middle of 2026, depending on what happens with all sorts of things, global liquidity and everything else. But you're looking at that kind of time frame. And I think MSTY, $40 share price, easy. So if you're looking at getting in now, anything under 25 for MSTY, great price. I think even anything under 30, to be honest with you, is a good price. Going on the fact that I do believe MSTY will be at least $40, maybe 45, probably more like $45 by the end of this year. And if, like I said, US actually start buying that Bitcoin, that 1 million plan over 5 years, MicroStrategy already holds over 500,000, over 500,000 Bitcoin. BlackRock already owns over 500,000 Bitcoin. There's only 21 million Bitcoin in the whole supply. It's finite. It's a limit. It's a scarce asset. Coupled with people have lost shitloads of Bitcoin. Like you see the stories on the news, people like digging up, what was it, like tip? They were trying to buy like this tip, this dump site to try and find their Bitcoin. And apparently, like according to some sources, over 1 million, up to 2 million Bitcoin has already been lost or, misplaced, which is just crazy. So the supply could possibly even be 19 million. So I just think there's going to be such a supply shock, and with institutional investing, BlackRock buying more, MicroStrategy buying more. Michael Saylor is not going to stop buying Bitcoin, and he is never going to sell. That is just fundamental. Like, the guy is crazy. He just an absolute Bitcoin maximalist that is not going to sell, at least for the next 10 years, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but he is the guy leading the charge, so to speak, and that is MicroStrategy and MSTY. So I believe, $45. Because look, if it went from Bitcoin went from $55, almost $60,000 to $105,000, and MSTY went from 1930 to pretty much $44, then it's easily going to hit $40, $45 this run, potentially even $50, $55. CONY is less volatility than MSTY. Coinbase as a stock has less volatility than MicroStrategy. So I don't believe it'll increase as much, but I do believe it'll get at least to $15. That's my price prediction as a base case. As I said, if global liquidity goes parabolic, if institutional investing goes massive, which I believe it will, if retailers start getting crazy, then it could easily go 18, 20 again, no problem. What am I doing? Okay, what's next? LFGY. Now, LFGY's had a bit of a rocky start because it started in that period. I'll just change the thing of this because it's only like 3 months old. We'll do all. Let's see. Yeah. So it launched at like $50, like all the YieldMax funds do now. It went up because Bitcoin was going up a bit, went up to like 54 or something. And then obviously since, when was this year? Since the start of this year, stocks and even Bitcoin has been tanking really until recently. So April 25th, that's when I think Bitcoin was at 76,000 level. And that's when LFGY was at $31.15, and it's already recovered to $37. And I think LFGY, let's have a look. We talked about this before, but it's got MicroStrategy as its main holding, YBIT, so that's the Bitcoin ETF, Coinbase, again, Coinbase, CleanSpark, that's Bitcoin mining, MARO Holdings, again, another Bitcoin treasury, Core Scientific, is that a Bitcoin mining company? I'm not sure what that is, to be honest. I think these are more financial institutions. Right, that's a Bitcoin mining technology, I believe. So this is all Bitcoin and tech and crypto, and these are some big players. I think, I think that this will do at least $55, $60 by the end of this year, potentially even more. So there's just too much like positive macro factors, too much bullishness, too much of a crypto friendly government. There's the new Senate, the new SEC is crypto friendly. Crypto legislation is, all the lawsuits against crypto and Coinbase, they've all been knocked aside. They've all been removed, so to speak, and it's just looking so good for Bitcoin and crypto. So I think it's going to be a big Bitcoin bull run this year. I think if you haven't got into, if you still got money on the side, MSTY, CONY, LFGY, great fun. MARO as well, of course. But my main player is MSTY because I think because of its volatility, it has the potential to go down quite a lot, but in a big bull run, it has the potential to go up more so than CONY will. So I would be putting more money into MSTY, and that's why it's my biggest holding. But yes, I know they're pretty big projections. I could be wrong. It's not financial advice, but I do believe we're on for a very exciting second half of this year. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments. But it's exciting times. All right. Cheers, guys.